One man who single-handedly changed the course of history was Alvin York, a man originating from the PVG state of Tennessee. He was born in 1887, and he was the third child in a family of 11 and grew up in a log house in Kanawha County, West Virginia, where he tended to livestock and plowed the land and hunt game for food. Life was hard, but simple, going to church on Sundays, farming during the weekdays, and hunting squirrels with a single-barreled gun in order to eat them. Which separated him from the pack was not only his goal, but more so, his ethic. He led a rebellious life and was a womanizer until he got born again after a certain period. His faith became his compass. He took the Bible seriously. This particular commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," was rather the rule for him, the principle he has been living by. Hence, when the Great War erupted in Europe and the United States too joined the war in 1917, Alvin was in a fix. The authorities summoned him, but his conscience did not allow him to go to war. He applied for a conscientious objection status, claiming that, according to his religion, one must not kill. However, the Army decided to review it and rejected it. York was drafted anyway. He reporting for his new duty at Camp Gordon, Georgia, and he was in dilemma between patriotism and religious belief. It was like any young soldier who went for the training, but the spirit that used to drive him was missing. He disdainfully rejected carrying a rifle. His commanders saw something in him that was real and did not initiate any punishment towards him. But what they did was speak with him, hours discussing things like right and wrong, the law, and what it meant to be virtuous. One officer offered him a Bible and showed him that even the Bible requires even the righteous to protect the helpless. Another explained that even though war was extremely brutal, it may sometimes be needed to prevent even worse things to occur. Alvin struggled. On a furlough given to him, he went back to Tennessee mountains to walk, pray, and meditate. He wanted peace. He feared sin. But he also saw poverty, disadvantage, the deaths of the innocent, and increasing dominance of tyranny across the world. Finally, he made his decision. After a long day of hunting, he returned back to the camp with determination. He would go, not for glory, not for revenge, but to safeguard the lives of the others, and to act according to his own perception of what is right. On October 8, 1918, the 328th Infantry Regiment, which York was a part of, engaged in a risky mission during Argonne in France. Their mission was to go and surprise the German side and later neutralize some machine gun positions that were holding several American forces. But things went terribly wrong. So advancing through the forest of Argonne, the Germans opened up with their fire from automatically organized posts. Of the men, 9 of them were killed on the spot. The rest were trapped. In the process, York's sergeant was killed. Leadership fell to York. What happened next would go down in military history. York was carrying only a rifle and a pistol, thus starting an absolutely one-man attack. He exploited all the techniques of hunting, to the later including use of trees, crawling, and firing at long range. Through the woods, he picked off German gunners one after the other, giving each a different direction in order to dodge bullets. Once, while confronting 6 German soldiers with bayonets, York nonchalantly shot them all with his pistol, firing as though he was shooting at turkeys back in the United States. But then there was a development that was even more surprising than all the rest. York sneaked around the machine gun posts and captured a German officer leading the operation. That night, using the officer as a shield, he managed to persuade more than 130 Germans to lay down their arms. When he came back to camp, shepherding prisoners, his comrades looked at him in disbelief. One of them wanted to know how he had accomplished it. He muttered humbly, "I do not know. It was just me and the Lord." Therefore, Alvin York was promoted to the rank of the sergeant on the spot. He was awarded the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, and other medals of France, Italy, and Montenegro. Although he was well known nationwide, newspapers all around America labeled him a hero. People organized political convoys in his honor. Hollywood came calling, but York turned them down. He went back to Tennessee and used the proceeds of his public speaking to build a school for poor mountain children. He did not use idea of war for personal gains, did not let others distort truth about him. He once asked, "History will remember me more for building up schools than for tearing down men." Alvin York never boasted. He never glorified war. It wasn't the expression of hatred or pride that motivated what he did on that battlefield. It was faith, duty, and life-saving spirits his brothers lived the lives of his enemies if possible. To the time of his death in 1964, York did not change, as he continued to be the simple and hard-working veteran that society had come to know. And therefore, the story of Sergeant York is not only a military story. It is written as a story of internal struggles, of valor that comes out of fear, a story of the man who held the rifle in his hand and the peace in his soul and stepped into the valley of fire. Alvin C. York, the reluctant hero. It is said that if one man had his way, there would be no such thing as war.